Alright, this is my first review. I got a lot of tools just laying around. I got some old tools. Got a lot of stuff I use in my shop, but I thought I'd start making some reviews of some of the stuff I like and give some opinions of whether I'd buy some of these tools over again or whether I'd make a pass on them. So this first review will be this 12-inch sliding compound miter saw. It's the new Ridgid R4221. It's a 12-inch, and there's some things I love about it, and there's some things I really don't like about it. So the nitty-gritty, which I think is a very pronounced issue with this saw, was the blade nut, the blade bearings. They weren't very good, and they wobbled a little bit. And I had that issue with this saw at first, and I really wasn't happy about it. I tried a better blade on it. I put a Diablo blade on it, and what it does is it just wobbles a little bit, and it split out my wood really bad. Just splinters on the back cut. No matter how slow you went, or didn't make a difference. So I actually returned this saw to Ridgid, and they sent me a brand new one in the box, and this one was a little bit different. Right here was noticeably different. The blade nut, the way it bolts on, this piece was all different than the one I had the first time. It has a little gasket in there, and two nuts screwing from the blade side in towards the hub here. And that was a little bit different than the first saw I had. It's still, like, if I throw up a piece of wood, one great feature of this saw is when you're cutting big wood, like big dimensional wood, you can hold that blade up with your finger and still grab the throttle. It's probably not recommended, but it's kind of handy to be able to grab that with those knurled things on the guard. So this saw has one of the features of the LED light, which makes cutting extremely fast. So you never have to mark your wood. You just pull a tape measure from one side, slide your wood in and out, and you can see exactly the kerf the blade is putting down. You can see the individual teeth and really make an accurate cut. But when you rev the blade up, and let go, you can see the faintest wobble in that line when you let go of the trigger. And what that was is when it slowed down, you could really see how out of true that bearing was. Now it seems good. It does really great cuts. I've been really impressed with it ever since. Some things I really like about this saw real quick. The dust collection works awesome. Just the stock little bag here. I have my shop back up and it does pretty good. But the zipper on the back, you can never seem, that little microscopic zipper never seems to work just right. Seems to be a design flaw or what have you. But when the bag works good, if you keep it clean, I think I could spray that out with the air compressor and it worked good. And I bet it captures maybe, I don't know, maybe 75% of the dust, which is pretty dang good for a miter saw like this. If you've been researching, you already know you can move these tables out the side, go all the way up to 70-degree miter. Oh, my cord's not reaching. Have to move my clunky little table up. Anyway, you get the point. So it's got positive detent stops, all your common angles. Then you just press that down to lock it. Really intuitive, easy to use. You just loosen these screws on the rail. When you get in the saw, and you just put up a square and make sure your blade's nice and square and tighten them down. I haven't had a problem. Very true, does good miters. So it'll do all the way up to 90 degree. I pulled my cord out again. Well, anyway, I built a table to hold the thing, and before you go building the table, there's a lot of things I'd change. My screws kind of pulled out on my hinges here. doesn't hold my table exactly flat. So that was kind of an issue. I've tried to fix it, but eventually I'm going to rebuild this table out of metal. But the idea when I built it is that you could kick this leg down, be able to wheel it around, and then I'm going to grab that cord. Flip this all the way in. It's got a little lock right here. You can lock the rails in. You can put this down. And the idea when I made it is that it would be a really small footprint to store my saw. I could wheel it up next to the garage or whatever, yeah, and it wouldn't take up much room at all. And it works pretty good that way. Another mistake I made is I put pneumatic tires on it, and you know, darn things are always going flat. I mean, they hold air for a little while, but it seems like these go flat quite. After a couple months, they'll be a little bit low, and when they wouldn't be such a big deal, but when they go really low, this dang thing drags. And whenever you lift on that end, this thing will skid and drag over here. But you just lift it up and drop it. I put a thing in there. That's your crown molding stops. If you don't know how those work, when this is flipped normal ways, you basically put that on there, and there's a threaded hole in there, and you just use one of the nuts to hold the backstop fence. Anyway, you can do crown molding any size basically. It's about the biggest capacity I think you can get in a 12-inch sliding miter saw, but I kind of had some regrets when I first got the saw. I was wishing I would have got the DeWalt 780 because the issues I was having splitting out the wood. But now I got this new saw. I put that's just a cheap Havani fine finish 80 tooth blade. That's carbide, and I think I can be had at not Walmart, Home Depot pretty cheaply. I think I got 2-pack for $40 on Black Friday or something like that, and golly, it just cuts laser smooth cuts. I'm been very impressed with it. You guys can always put in the comments. I'll try and get on the comments, and I did pretty good with my other channel, but get on the comments and I'll try and answer any questions you have. You know, these are awesome, but you never use them that much. I always find a way just to make most of my miter cuts by swinging the table this way or this way. But if you're doing a compound miter cut, that's the only way to go, and it does work pretty dang good. When you're doing that, always try and find a way to clamp the wood in there, because when you're holding your hand in there, it's kind of sketchy, or trying to hold on this side and saw with your left hand. It's always kind of awkward, so I always try and really think out what I'm doing here. But this thing works pretty good. It just friction locks in there. But once you put force on it and twist it down, it works pretty good. If you get sawdust in there, it doesn't want to stay in there very good. But for 90% what you do, if you spray it out with the air compressor, it would work just fine. So same thing with this. You flip it to that position. Has detent miter locks. Be overridden with that little lever on the back. It's hard to video and see at the same time, but because I have to hold up the saw. But you flip that, so it goes down. But if I flip it up to the next miter lock, and then set the phone right there. Get you go. All right. Anyway, you get the point. You flip this up to go from miter to miter. Flip this down to lock it in. So once this is down, this don't matter. If you flip this to this position, that lets you do the detents. with this lever, and then you flip it all the way forward and it lets you go to any setting, and then you flip it all the way back to lock it. It's got a, what you call that, a dado stop. You can adjust that in and out if you're doing some kind of crazy dado or something like that. I mean, it's a really good saw. It's a 15 amp motor, so you know you're going to get all the juice you can get out of your wall outlet. You can never test horsepower ratings on saws, but it's 15 amps, so it's as big as they come. I mean, go, it runs. Well, I gotta re-plug it in. The gear drive runs pretty good. The brake works awesome. So you don't have to wait too long for it to stop. It ain't as smooth as a DeWalt bell drive. Light switch right there where you can reach it with your finger, so when you forgot to turn it on, you just... But yeah, awesome saw for the money. You can't beat it. I think I got mine for $300 on Black Friday. There's nothing you can do to beat that. I mean, you're looking at least $600 for a DeWalt of the same thing, and it's got all the same basic capacities. There's some things that are better in the DeWalt, and there's some things that are better on this for capacity. But for 90% of what us home people are doing, do-it-yourselfers and stuff, it's more than enough saw. It really made me happy. If you think you're gonna regret not having the additional accuracy and smoothness and maybe longevity of a DeWalt, I'd step up and spend the extra money and get the DeWalt. But gal, I mean, I've been super impressed with this. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.